Slizgol, extreme suffering, inner dignity, and spiritual justice beyond human violence. The testimony of Spirit Slizgol, presented in the second part of Heaven and Hell, is one of the strongest and most enlightening accounts of the work, as it addresses the suffering experienced under extreme conditions of violence, humiliation, and injustice, without attributing this suffering to the moral guilt of the spirit. It is a clear example of how Spiritism distinguishes between suffering endured and wrongs committed. Slizgol manifests with clarity, preserved identity, and a deep emotional burden linked to the traumatic experiences he lived in life. His suffering does not arise from condemnable acts, but from the brutal conditions to which he was subjected. The consciousness bears deep marks of fear, anguish, and moral exhaustion, direct reflections of an existence marked by oppression. Modern depth psychology helps to understand this state accurately. Extreme experiences of violence and dehumanization leave lasting marks on the consciousness, especially when the individual is deprived of dignity, security, and recognition as a human being. Trauma does not automatically dissolve with the end of the physical body. It needs to be embraced, processed, and re-signified. Spiritism clarifies that the suffering of Slizgol is not spiritual punishment, nor a result of personal moral failures. It is a direct consequence of the human violence suffered. Divine justice in this context does not manifest through pain, but through subsequent support, the progressive restoration of inner dignity, and the opportunity for spiritual recovery. Contemporary science reinforces this view by demonstrating that psychological trauma requires gradual healing processes. Studies on traumatic memory indicate that the reorganization of consciousness depends on safety, acceptance, and time. On a spiritual level, higher spirits assist in this process, offering support, clarification, and emotional reconstruction. Another essential point of the testimony is the preservation of moral dignity. Despite intense suffering, Slizgol does not present himself as a rebellious spirit or morally hardened. His suffering is human, not moral. This shows that unjustly suffered pain does not diminish the spiritual value of the being. On the contrary, it often strengthens silent virtues such as inner resistance, humility, and perseverance. Spiritism shows that extreme trials experienced without personal guilt do not generate lower spiritual states. On the contrary, when faced with inner integrity, they can represent difficult stages of a larger process of learning and elevation. Pain, here, does not correct error. It reveals the need for care and collective reparation. This account brings a profoundly current message. In a world still marked by wars, persecutions, intolerance, and structural violence, the testimony of Slizgol clearly asserts that the suffering imposed by others does not define the value of consciousness. Moral responsibility falls on those who cause violence, not on those who suffer it. Slizgol teaches us that true spirituality does not explain human pain as punishment, but as a challenge that demands compassion, justice, and collective responsibility. Spiritual progress does not ignore violence. It denounces it and works to heal it. Reflecting on this testimony is an invitation to active empathy. Combating dehumanization, welcoming victims of violence, and promoting human dignity are spiritual duties in the present. Awareness grows when it learns to protect life and dignity in all its forms. If this account helped you reflect on unjust suffering, dignity, and spiritual justice, like, share, and leave your comment. Your participation helps this message reach more people.